Are Luther Burden and Malaki Starks underrated prospects? We're exploring that and more today on Takes on Takes.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins, and we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
Joe, happy Friday. Happy Takes on Takes Day. And I guess happy first weekend of March Madness to those who celebrate.
Yeah. Did you do a bracket?
No, I didn't do a bracket.
I did. I did one for the Locked On whatever, there's like a contest within the network. And my thought is this. I haven't watched a down of basketball this year.
A down.
Not a single down. And I want to go in there and have if I win as the football guy against the baskbasketball nerds, a lot of basketball nerds.
Good bragging rights.
Yeah, dude. Look, if I finish last, nobody cares. Nobody will ever remember it. But if I win, it's gonna be a pretty big bragging rights. So I filled out a bracket. I got Houston going all the way. I don't know who they have. You know, I don't know nothing about them, but I picked them.
What I do know is McNeese. Have you seen this McNeese State student manager that they have with the boombox that comes out?
Not a clue. Not a clue about
check it out. I'd be like, rocking with McNeese State. I saw him
doing all right.
This kid's pretty dope.
All right.
He got like a shoulder strap and a boombox the size of like your work desk, and he comes out and he's got like a mid part with a fade on the sides. And the players are all getting into the music around him, and he's like emceeing with a walkout for the team. It's pretty fun.
My bracket has them losing to Clemson in the first round, so
they lost.
It already happened. It already happened. All right,
Clemson
so
lost.
Very good. No, Clemson lost.
Yes,
they won. McNeese State won as the 12th seed over the 5.
Yes.
Throw the bracket out.
Is there a worse kiss of death than just being a 5 seed? It feels like 12-5s happen more often than not.
Well, I have Memphis winning the West. So
I don't know what that means.
They're a 5 seed. They're a 5 seed. So that's great for me. Go 5 seed. I don't know if they lost. I don't know anything about it. We'll wake up one day. We'll check.
We'll check after the national championship and see how the score comes in.
All right, let's do it.
Just listen to takes, correct?
We're loaded. We got a couple of good food takes, a lot of good football takes, a lot of draft stuff. Let's do it. Bill says Luther Burden, that's a wide receiver from Missouri. Falling out of the first round is impossible, and his floor should be 20th to Denver. A lot of Luther Burden fans out there, man.
Yeah.
I'm seeing they're defending this guy. His floor should be 20 is the take.
I don't know in this draft class his floor should be 20. I mean, I like him as a player. I'm not going hog wild over Luther Burden. I think he's a really creative player with the ball in his hands. I don't think he's overly refined as a route runner. And I've seen enough of those guys come in regardless of how good they are with the ball and how good the athletic profile is. Sometimes that takes a little while. And because of that, I have that in the back of my mind. And I'm like, I like you, but I'm not going to trip all over myself to run the card in for you if I'm picking in Seattle and I need a wide receiver.
Totally agree. I totally agree with that. Like, interesting player, could be dynamic, needs some refinement, tough to forecast. I'd probably let somebody figure out if he's going to make it. But yeah, so for me, I'm out on this. I think his floor should be somewhere on day 2. That seems right to me. Air Raid says Malaki Starks. That's a safety from Georgia.
Yes.
He's a top 10 player in this draft.
Yes. I'm pulling up my board as we speak. I have Malaki Starks 9th on draft.
Yeah, I have him 10th.
You You barely agree, but you do agree.
Well, hold on a second. It's actually no. It is actually ninth because my top row is ranked player. So
We
you know what I'm
both
talking
have
about.
This is
We
a Pro
both. I
Malaki
have.
Starks podcast.
Yeah, and so I went through because I'm pushing the gas to the gas pedal down here, moving forward with my draft work.
Yep.
So I went through and I was like, okay, let me set the board based on I've done 51 players. So I went through and I stacked them exactly how I like them to make sure, as I add these next wave that the foundation is set. So that's where he came in. I'm looking at the guys I still have left to do. I'd be real surprised if any of them are a top 10 player. So he'll be a top 10 player for me as well.
You know what I did last night? I'm really excited about.
What'd you do?
So I have my board, right? I'm about 205 grades in. I got a 95.
Casual. Kyle.
I had to throw it out there after you gave your number. So let me make the point to flex on the job that I had that required me to do this. So I'm just over 200, but I converted all the grades into a team specific board. So I'm going to send you a list of my 10 traits for each position. And I want you to put them in tiers for me. And I will take my board and I will weigh it for how you tier the traits that I've graded that are important to your football team. And I will send you a Bill specific board.
Rankings. Wow. The outside, I love it. I love that.
It's very fun to see guys that had third round grades that are now suddenly high twos when filtering through a specific scheme, or guys that are third round grades that have fifth round grades.
That's a casual bomb you just dropped on me, Kyle.
I know.
Crabbs.
Yeah.
Here in segment 1.
So and that's why I had to throw the number of players out so that there was proper magnitude of like how big of a deal it is. Jeez. That I want to provide you with this list.
That's unbelievable. Head is spinning. Okay. We got to move forward here, but I'm excited about that. Weekly Huddle says the Anthony Richardson discourse has gone too far too quickly. You knew what he was coming out with his limited playing time. Get back to me when he hits the same amount of starts as Jaden Daniels has coming out of college. We might not get there.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
It feels like they're giving Daniel Jones every opportunity to not be their answer.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole Flacco situation, literally benched him. Bringing in Daniel Jones. I mean, he's got dynamic physical traits, but at some point there's just it's too far of an uphill climb to get the amount of experience necessary to really maximize who you're going to be.
Right. So you're falling behind at the highest level from a reps perspective, and you were already in a deficit. And do you remember the I don't know. I think that the Anthony Richardson discourse that I think I took the most exception to was when he was coming out. Do you remember that talking point of he's not as raw as you think he is?
Yeah.
Did you believe that?
Or no, not never. No.
Right. It's like you had 10 career starts.
Yeah, there's nothing you could say. It's just not true. Yeah.
You see moments where things look exactly the way that they're supposed to look. But when it was as variant as it was from snap to snap, knowing he hadn't played, I think that's the definition of being raw, regardless of how good it can look in small glimpses.
Yeah. Next one comes from Joe at work, and I'm not going to lie. I put this together very early this morning, and then I spent a lot of time this morning drinking coffee, doing things around the house, taking a shower. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. Here's the take. Spring is, by a mile, the worst season.
Are we including or not including sports in this?
I think it's all encompassing. And that's where I spend a lot of time. Like there's a sports element. There's a family element. There's like an activities. There's holidays. There's different activities that you do in each season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's right. And here's what I'll say. I like every season. I really do. I appreciate all the dynamics of it, but it's the worst. To me, it's the worst sports season. You have to do like the most outside activities. Like if you care about your yard appearance, your house, you have to do the most things during that time. Mm-hmm. The variance in weather is very annoying. Not only day to day, where you could have a day in the 70s and then it could be back in the 40s or 30s again, but like sometimes you wake up like today, 35 degrees this morning in North Carolina, and it's going to be pushing 80 by the end of the day. Like that's difficult to deal with. Allergies suck. You got pollen all over the place. There's no football. I think this might be true.
All right. So what I would do to piggyback off of that, I know we got to get. I'm going to ask the question after the break.
All right.
But it's a follow-up to this.
More about spring on the other side of it. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. You can find the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who will deliver incredible results. It's fast and easy. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, you'll have multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Plus, it's cost-effective. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps you find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. So visit Upwork.com and check out where you can post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all your money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch isn't just another budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. The insights are surprising. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Plus, the convenience is off the charts. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Plus, it's easy to collaborate. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
I want you to bundle them. Pick. You get rid of 2
seasons.
I think I'm getting rid of spring and summer.
Really?
Yeah. I don't like being hot.
You don't? For like a little bit of time?
No.
Isn't it a huge part? Like going outside's got to be a huge part of your parenting strategy.
It is.
It's critical. And
right.
It's easiest to do that in the spring and the summer. Well, we spend a lot of time at the pool, man.
Itchy. Well, do you shower after the pool?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, this is not a Dan Orlovsky situation, right?
Oh, God. Absolutely repulsive.
Do you use the same beach towel for all 7 days you go to the beach?
No. I use too many towels, to be honest with you.
Right, doesn't that get old, though? There's like all that extra stuff involved with all those activities.
Yeah, but you have a good time with your kids and you wear them out.
There's also no football.
Yeah, that's okay, though. But that's not great. But the training camp hype is there, this season.
Barely. You get the month of August?
Yeah, I guess.
If I can get rid of 2 seasons, I get rid of spring and summer.
You just go fall to winter, fall to winter, fall to winter. Fall's obviously the best season. There's no question.
Yeah. And then winter, in an ideal world, I don't live in the mid-Atlantic and it doesn't get that cold and it's not a big deal. And I still get warm days in the fall.
People might have different answers to this based on where they live. So
probably. They probably do. They should.
All right. August says both Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter being off the board at 4 with no team willing to trade down with would absolutely be the doomsday scenario for the New England Patriots.
Just take Armand Membu.
Dude, that was exactly what I was thinking with this. Just pick Membu.
Yeah. If that's the world you live in, just pick Armand Membu.
Right. And honestly, I think it's fair to say that Hunter and Carter are better prospects, but Membu would probably help your team more than any of those players. It solves a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't think that's totally doomsday. I think that's okay. Well, just pick Membu and move on. Beer Snob 305. That's Miami, right? 305 is the area code there.
Yes, it is.
This is what they say. There will be at least 5 picks traded on draft night during the first round.
Did you see? I'm sorry, I'm going to hijack this take. So apologies. Did you see this is the first time in like 50 years that every team has had their first round pick at the start of the league calendar year?
Yep.
That's pretty wild, isn't it?
I think it's extremely wild. Do you think we get to draft day that way? I think we do. Who's trading the first round pick and for what right now?
Right. Who's available that didn't get a contract already?
Right. You remember like years past, like there'd be like some rumblings, like the Marquise Brown thing, the AJ Brown thing. And it's like, oh, then it just happens, right?
Right.
What's the Trey Hendrickson's like the only rumbling player right now that you could even talk about like that?
Tyreek Hill.
Nobody's giving a one for Tyreek.
Come on. You should give a first round pick for Tyreek Hill. It'd be great.
No.
Not you, but somebody.
No.
Totally.
I mean, he was number one in the NFL when it wasn't that long ago.
He was
right?
the number one player in the
Number
NFL less
number
than a
one
year
player.
ago.
Number one.
You should totally trade a first round.
But Parsons not going to get traded, right? They're not going to do that.
No, they have too much time.
Yeah, I don't.
To massage that situation.
So on draft night, do we get 5 trades?
No.
Or less?
Less. That feels like a lot.
I agree.
On the first night, that feels like a lot.
Yeah, and I just don't. I've come around on this draft class, but I also don't feel like there's a lot of urgency to have to like move up for guys.
Right.
So
I think there's going to be there's like a finite window of players that are in that consensus top 10, 12 players, right? And most of the teams will be perfectly inclined to stay there and pick one of those players because they're the best of the best. And then once those players are gone, the comparative value of what I think that second tier is very deep. And I think it's going to hurt the tradability of those draft picks.
All right. The next one today comes from the Sports Nut. 2-parter here. The first one is wide receiver 1 in this year's draft would have been wide receiver 5 in last year's draft.
Say it again.
Wide receiver 1 in this year's draft. So whoever is that McMillan? Is that Golden? Burden?
It's a boot.
Okay.
Burden.
So
would be 5.
Right. So we know the big 3: Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, and then Thomas. I don't think any receiver this year would get drafted ahead of those players.
Especially with the benefit of hindsight, right?
Yes. Now, Thomas, the Jags traded back and got him, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
If we knew.
Right? Yeah, but I think even if
he's got a higher ceiling, it feels like, than these guys.
Yeah, right? I think there was a better selling point of like the height, weight, speed, physical profile, and the upsell there. Like, I feel like he's what people are expecting like Tet McMillan to play like.
Well, that's a bad expectation. I'm sorry to hear that.
Too. Yeah, but doesn't it kind of feel like there's all this pushback against like the fading of Tet McMillan that's going on?
Well, you wouldn't have to fade him if you appropriately evaluated him the first time around.
Okay, you're not gonna be mean about it.
I'm tired of creating prospects, man. That was my whole thing this year. I don't care what people think about these players. Like, what is the reality of the player?
Right.
Don't tell me that Calvin Banks is this top 5 tackle or that Deion Walker's a top 10 defensive tackle just because that's what the consensus is. Like, watch the freaking tape.
You made a mistake. Brought up Deion Walker.
No, I didn't make a mistake. People that mocked him in the first round and had him as a top 10 pick all summer long are the people that made a mistake.
That man told PFF last summer he was aiming to run in the 4.6s.
Yeah.
And what did he run? He ran I got it right here. He ran a 5.36.
Yo, that's not even the same ballpark. You know what I mean?
He had a 1.9 10-yard split.
Like, congrats to him. He created the hype. He did it.
And bro, he cut the 331.
Don't create prospects.
The pass rush win rate, the 7 sacks, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna run a 4.6. He had one test above the 50th percentile. It's a broad jump. 5.04 on the RAS. Everything else is in the 1s and 2s and 0s.
So we disagree on
Andre Carter reincarnated.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. The other part of the Sports Nuts take is that Edge 5 in this year's draft would have been Edge 1 in last year's draft. I disagree. Jared Verse was Edge 1 last year, right?
Yeah,
and
I had Jared Verse. I like Jared Verse a lot.
Yeah, and so who's the 5th one this year?
And Latu, I like Latu.
I like those guys. I like Turner as well.
So Edge 5 for me this year is. Are you counting Jalen Walker? Or is he a linebacker?
I don't know.
If you count Jalen Walker, it's Jalen Walker. If you don't count Jalen Walker, it's Nick Scorton.
To me, it's my Edge 5 right now is James Pierce. I disagree with that part of it.
Yes, I agree with that as well. Pierce is my Edge 8, including Jalen Walker, Edge 8.
All right. A loaded third segment is coming
Right.
your way here in just a moment, folks. Be sure to stick with us.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, let's do it. Tate says Bashal Tootin. That's a running back from
Tate?
Virginia Tech. Tate, yeah, Tate.
Like Tate McRae?
I just wrote down Tate. I'm not sure.
Tate McRae's like the dancer that's doing music.
Oh.
So probably not Tate McRae.
Why would I know who Tate McRae is? Like, is this?
This is a beautiful, beautiful young woman.
I don't
Pop
know.
culture's not your thing.
Yeah.
Haven't called Jimmy Kimmel lately?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
I know who Jimmy Kimmel is, though. Yeah. Bashal Tootin is the biggest boom bust prospect outside of the first round that could completely dominate the league at an all-pro level or fumble 6+ times a season and never lock down a lead run.
Yeah, the fumbles are really scary.
Is he a fumbler? I just know he's fast and from Virginia Tech.
I want to make sure I get the numbers right here so that it's Bashal Tootin 33rd team. I'll get the report up because I know my strengths and weaknesses. We clarified 8 fumbles the last 2 seasons.
Each of the last 2 or 4?
No, 4 combined fumbles in the last 2 seasons.
Is he hold the ball weird?
A lot of it's second contact stuff.
All right, tuck that thing away, dude.
Right. But it's scary. So he played at North Carolina A&T to start and then played at Tech the last 2 years as a 3-star transfer. But it's a lot of get up onto the second level or get out into space and a guy's chasing you down from behind an angle and you're too preoccupied with the safety and we're just very loosey-goosey with the ball.
I remember Utah had a running back a few years ago that I talked about his fumbling problem. And it was very obvious that he held the ball wrong. And Utah fans were real mad at me. The big dude, the big guy.
Oh.
He hasn't done a thing. But that guy, you know what I'm talking about. That guy.
Yes.
There it is.
I'm going to need a minute. So
I don't remember his name. Big dude. Just a big dude that fumbled a lot.
Supersized running back, but was fun where you're like, oh, this guy might be a thing someday.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Is it Tavian Thomas?
I think so. I think
21
exactly
touchdown. Yeah, 6'2", 221.
Yeah.
Transfer from Cincinnati.
What's he doing? Chilling?
I tell you what he's not doing.
All right. Here's our food take. Jim says Texas chili is better than Cincinnati chili, with an FYI that they put chocolate in Cincinnati chili. I didn't know that.
That sounds horrible.
Right. I didn't know that. I think people are going to like the chili that they're used to, right? Like if you're a Texas chili person, you're like no beans in the chili. That's important to you. If you like the Cincinnati, if that's what you grew up with, that's what you're going to like. I like the chili that I eat that has beans and, peppers and
kidney beans.
Yeah. Kidney beans. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a staple. I mean, it's like a good. It's a hearty legume, right?
Well, they say that if you need to put beans in your chili, then it's not hearty enough with what you're doing with the other stuff. I don't really care.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad about just doing like a tomato paste turkey chili or beef chili or whatever. Like, I'd be cool with that too. But I like legumes in my chili.
Yeah, I'm with you too.
Did you guys do crock pot chili? Like, is that how you guys made it?
My wife usually does it in the crock pot. Yeah.
That's the way to do it, because that's how my mom made it when I was a kid too.
Yeah. So I think you're just gonna like whatever you grew up with, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't really need the spaghetti noodles. I don't need chocolate in there, and I prefer the beans. So I guess I would go with the Texas chili over the Cincinnati. I would say.
I would definitely take Texas over Cincinnati.
Rand says, I don't blame James Cook for asking for $15 million a year. I understand that running backs don't have a strong market in the NFL and he only plays 45% of snaps. But if you view him through the lens of how much value he brings to the Bills, is he $2 million a year more valuable than Shakir? Quite possibly. I have a strong opinion on this. No, I think you need to share your thoughts on this, but I'll say what I need to say here. I don't blame James Cook for seeking $15 million a year. Why wouldn't he want that, right? Why wouldn't he want that? Go get the money, as much money as possible. I don't think he's reasonable with that request based on what he provides to the team. But when you invoke Khalil Shakir, this is what I'll say about that. If the Bills had to play a game without Khalil Shakir or without James Cook, I would be much more nervous if they didn't have Khalil Shakir. And I think the evidence is in the Houston game last year. Bills did not have Khalil Shakir against Houston. I think Josh Allen was 10 of 30. Looked horrible. They were without James Cook for the Jets game, and Ray Davis went out and had 100 yards from scrimmage, and they smoked the Jets. So I don't know. I'm way more concerned if the Bills had to play a game without Khalil Shakir than James Cook, which means I completely disagree with you about which player is more valuable to the team.
As a fan of a team whose interest is in trying to chase down the team from Western New York, I'm actively rooting for the Bills to pay James Cook $15 million because of the opportunity cost and what that would mean elsewhere on the roster.
All right, there's that.
Yeah. Who is that player for me that you were like, I'm hoping you do or I'm hoping you don't? I forget what. Felt like we did like a contract negotiation not that long ago, and you're like, yeah, I'm really I'm hoping you do pay. It wasn't Tua though. Like obviously Tua is the
I don't remember
polarizing one.
We've had so many conversations just like that.
Right.
Where it's like, I think that's ultimately my favorite way to like qualify how I really feel. Like from an opponent's perspective, what do I want to happen?
What would what would my emotion be if opposing team did X?
All right. Matt says Brian Schottenheimer will be the head coach of the Cowboys this time next year. Of course he will be, right? Like, the Cowboys are very loyal with their head coaches.
Theoretically, yes, I would assume so.
I would be very surprised if Brian Schottenheimer was one and done. And then we'll close with this one. Chet says this. Or Chet. I don't know. I'm sure I'll get yelled at.
I assume it's Chet.
Chet. The Giants are a quarterback away.
Oh, that's a fun take.
Yeah, so
away from what?
I'll let's assume a playoff contender. Like a team that you think this team can make the playoffs. Right now, nobody thinks the Giants are making the playoffs. So this is the way that I wanted to attack this conversation. Do you think the rest of the roster is playoff caliber? We know the quarterback is not. But do you look at the rest of this? Is the rest of this playoff caliber collectively?
Okay. I think you need another wide receiver.
I agree.
Well, Slayton's fine. Neighbors obviously super promising. We're probably a little too unproven at tight end for me to like, but if you're going to live in 11 personnel and that's going to be an add-on to your core, like, you know what that floor is with Daniel Bellinger. You have Chris Manhertz in the back. So, okay. I think the overall talent of the offensive line is fine.
Average, right?
It's a sufficient group. I think it gets bagged on a lot, and I know Jermaine Illuminor's tired of it. Feels like every week I log on to one of the social media timeline and Jermaine's defending the honor of the Giants offensive line, which I'd be inclined to agree. Like, if they're fully healthy and it's Thomas, Runyon, Schmitz, Van Roten, Illuminor. It's a fine group.
No. I wish there was a little more ceiling, right? Like,
well, thank Evan Neal, right? Or Izudu. That's a first and third round pick, and it ain't happened. So I think you need a quarterback, a wide receiver, and maybe a tight end on the offensive side of the ball. Is the defensive interior side of Dexter Lawrence anything at all?
They don't have a single meaningful thing outside of Dexter Lawrence on the interior.
Like, who's Elijah Chapman?
Somebody that's going to play snaps right now.
I know who Corey Durden is.
Right.
What is that?
But it's Nacho and DJ Davidson are the guys, right? Roy Robertson Harrison's a decent player.
Right. It's just an unserious group.
Unserious.
Dexter Lawrence is amazing. He's a top 5 defensive tackle in football. Probably.
I know, but I think Roy Robertson Harris is at least a purple. He's at least a quality.
Right. But if I'm looking at the entirety of this group and say you're going to roster 5, how many of these guys?
We have work to do.
Linebacker, we need to be better.
Okereke's good.
Okereke's a fine player. I think Micah McFadden is one of those, like Mike Gesicki in Miami. Somebody has to play the snaps and give you contributions. I think that's a very upgradable player.
Yeah, but I also, for like the Shane Bowen defense, like that kind of linebacker seems to be okay. I don't love it, but for that defense.
Do we like the edge depth?
No, but we feel pretty good about the starters.
Yeah, I think
they paid Chauncey Golston too. Like we should be thinking about him as a down lineman, right? If they're going to give a 3-man front, it's probably Dexter, Chauncey Golston, and Roy Robertson Harrison.
I think that further amplifies the lack of depth in the edge group, though, because now your edge 3 is Demukeji, who they just signed, or Tomon Fox. We got some alarm bells going off there.
We need.
I probably would have just tried to bring back Azeez Ojulari.
Right, now the Eagles got him and Josh Uche, and you're like, okay, great, there it is.
For a combined $6 million.
Right.
Kick rocks, Howie. Like, come on, dude.
Do they have more sacks combined than they do APY committed to those players this year?
Yes, they do.
So over whatever that is, let's call it 6.
6.5 or more.
I think so.
Yeah, I think they will too. Secondary looks good, though. I think they've done a really nice job with Nubin's a promising player. Drew Phillips popped last year. They bring in Holland and Adebo. I think there's a lot to like in the secondary. I think they have some pillar pieces in the front with some upgrade opportunity. I think even with a quarterback, though, unless it's Patrick Mahomes, you're still probably talking third best team in the NFC East.
Tend to agree.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's either a rookie quarterback or Aaron Rodgers, right? Like or Russell Wilson.
So we'll see. We'll see what they do. We'll see what the weekend brings from a news perspective. We'll react to whatever we get. On Monday, I'm Kyle Crabbs. He is Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys, as always, for checking out Locked On NFL Scouting. Make it a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you again soon.